morning, beautiful people, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone alike of all color. Welcome to a brand new podcast called UFL Today. I'm your host, Lucas Hill, where we will be covering the best from the UFL. We have a lot in store for you, from the best guests to the best content from one of the fastest growing leagues in American football. Now, everybody talks about the NFL and college football, and that's great. But who talks about the UFL a lot? I think that it's needed. I think that this is a league that people really need to pay attention to, and one that really should be covered just as much as the NFL. So we're going to start it off today. Do me a favor, guys. First of all, thank you for 50 subscribers on the YouTube channel. We really do appreciate it. We're going to continue to put out some great content for you on a daily basis, and we want to encourage all not just with UFL Today, but also with Fourth and Forever. So let's get into today's highlights and recent news. According to James Larson, by the way, will be a frequent guest on here. He is a UFL insider. We're going to get him on quite a bit. We tried to get him on last season, but unfortunately, just conflicts with our schedule just really hurt us. So the first big news today, the Arlington Renegades are re-signing Lindsey Scott and Donald Payne. This is huge if you are the Arlington Renegades, because Lindsey Scott, this is a guy that if you looked at what he did during his collegiate career, you're not going to see much of what he did at the Division I level. But in the FCS, look at what he did during his senior year. 70% completion rate, 4,686 yards, 60 touchdowns to just 8 interceptions to go along with 712 yards rushing and 11 total touchdowns. Wow. That was an unbelievable season that he had. Obviously, the UFL draft is still 3 months away. But guys, you had to get a guy that was like Lindsey Scott. Made his debut last year. Initially, he signed with the Houston Roughnecks, but ended up getting picked up by Arlington during the USFL and XFL dispersal draft process. So, so everybody was saying, well, maybe this guy will get a lot more playing time. He was more used as an option quarterback behind arguably the spring league's GOAT, Luis Perez, which ended up turning out to be a decent move because Luis Perez really had a decent year in 2024. But at the same time, he wasn't able to develop just how you think he would because of just how little he was on the field. 48 yards and a touchdown, ran for 72 and 2 scores, was used more as an option quarterback, got the RPO game going with him. So they used him in quite a bit of ways whenever you got a guy like that on the field. It looks like Luis Perez could be coming back to the UFL because he just got waived back in August. So there is no telling what happens, but the Arlington Renegades want a guy like Luis Perez as well as Lindsey Scott back in the ball game. Guys, if you go back and how he was used back in April whenever they played the St. Louis Battlehawks, dude, he was unbelievable. Did so well with the football. He is just a gadget type of quarterback. That's a guy that you love to have in your backfield and really could be a future leader if he is to stay with the Arlington Renegades. So let's go to Donald Payne right now. So 2022, his first year in the UFL or USFL, as in, led the USFL in tackles, 2 sacks, 3 interceptions. Dude, for the Renegades to snag a guy like that in the draft was unbelievable. This dude was a force to be reckoned with. So last year, he was really heavily involved in the Jay Haynes defense yet again. Dude, Jay Haynes has done a really good job from what he's done just with Arlington. He's almost a 20-year vet in the NFL as a defensive line coach and much more. So started all 10 games, 62 tackles, 2 sacks. Very smart linebacker. He's starting to get up there in age. But guys, you have to get this guy on the field as much as possible. This dude is a really, really smart linebacker. 30 years old right now. He's been bouncing around the spring league over the last 3 years or so. Was with the Gamblers back in 2022, then with the Renegades last year. And guys, this is a great, great linebacker. Very instinctive, knows where the play goes. Last year, obviously, he dealt with injury in the XFL, but this year came back stronger than ever. And then going back again, I mean, guys, when you get a guy like Donald Payne back on the roster, that's a guy that you love to have. It's a guy that you really need as well. 76 tackles and 5 sacks in the NFL. GM Rick Mueller, he's been getting very busy. Not only do you get both of those guys, but you also get quite a few players that you also resign. So, guys, this is going to be a big offseason for Arlington, for Bob Stoops and company. I'm hoping to receive word soon that I can get a guy like Coach Stoops on the podcast so we can interview him, but we shall see, of course. But you never know. Looking at their roster right now, that not only do you have him, you also have Holton Allers, who many of you remember was at East Carolina, went on to be one of the greatest in school history. Did some great things there. Senior year, 3,700 yards passing, 28 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. Well, he's probably going to be your second string quarterback, depending on what happens with Luis Perez, if he does end up getting signed again by another team. But if you remember, in the back half of the year, the offense started to really, really pick up steam. Arlington finally got into a groove. You won 3 of your last 4 ball games to keep yourself in playoff contention, but just couldn't get it done at the end of the year like you did the year before in 2023, where you stumbled out the last 2 games of the year, lost in overtime to DC, and then got blown out by Houston. Then you go to the division finals, you knock out Houston, and then you knock out DC for the XFL title. Luis Perez was the MVP of that one. So I think Arlington is still a dangerous team in the UFL, despite the combination. I know Birmingham, guys, we'll be making a return to Birmingham very soon, by the way. I cannot wait to go back and go see some of those fans. Those guys get insane. The Horsemen are probably one of the best fan bases in the UFL. But again, I'm kind of biased because that's the only place I've been to thus far. But guys, I want to go ahead and travel more around the South and go to other UFL games. So I'm really excited to get back to the UFL and go experience some of those same games. So guys, do me a favor. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of the signing? How will this impact Arlington going into next year's season? Obviously, we're 163 days away from kickoff, March 28th. More news will be coming out from myself as the upcoming weeks go on about what I plan to do when it comes to travels. Got a little hint of what I might be doing. So, guys, until then, y'all have a great rest of the day, and thank you for tuning in to our first episode of UFL Today.